Hello, Fireblade here with another tutorial. This tutorial is for CSGO SDK. Now, to start, you will probably have to install. So, go to your library. You can find it just by going to the stores and clicking the library. On the very top of your games section, you got the search and then all games. This is a drop-down box. You can select tools. Now in here, you got a bunch of tools which you can use for across all of your games. In here you'll find Counter-Strike Global Offensive SDK. Go ahead and install it. I've already got mine installed, so I'm going to launch it. In here you got the Face Poser, Model Viewer, and the World Editor. Odds are you're in here for the World Editor, as this is a World Editor tutorial, so go ahead and double tap that. I like to minimize mine. Now you're going to get a screen like this. Let me just prioritize the window. And so you're going to get a screen like this. And first thing you're going to see is that you have no file loaded. So go ahead, top left, click File, go to New, and then you might want to just go ahead and click Control A. This will center your four windows. Now you can still zoom it around, move it around. You zoom in using the mouse wheel. And I like to consider this like a cube. If you're looking at a cube, you can only see three faces, three sides, at any given time. The top right one is going to be your top. The bottom right one is going to be the right side, while the bottom left one is going to be the left side, which is aka the front. And then the top left will be your camera. Now the first thing I like to do is I like to go ahead and save it. So I'm going to go ahead and save it as tutorial, and it's saved. Next, you're going to want to create a block. Now these blocks are basically the whole foundation of the hammer editor. So you can click Control B for the hotkey, or you can click the white cube here. As you can see, you can only see three faces at any given time. Now you want to create a texture first, or select a texture. So go ahead and click Browse. In the Filter tab down here, Filter field, go ahead and type in Dev. For now I'm not going to bother, but most map editors, they normally start with a single or so texture, and then later when they are near the completion, they start filling in the textures as needed. So this texture, which I've used here, and then the orange one, are mostly what most people would use at the start of their map. Later they would come in with another texture and apply the texture and fix it. Now to create your first room, you're going to want to go ahead and select a area in the top or the bottom right or the bottom left, anywhere in these three, not the camera. I'll show you that in a moment. And go ahead and drag an area. Now you can see it's 1024 by 1024. It's a pretty good room. Now I look on the sides here, it's only 64 tall, as you can see on both of them. That's no good. So go ahead and increase it by another 64. This is standard room height, 128 that is. And go ahead and click Enter. Now this will finalize it, and it will work just fine. Now if I were to press Z with my mouse on the camera, then I can move my mouse, look around. I can press WASD and it will move around. The mouse is free look, so as you can see, if I were to go inside the block, it's just empty. So it's just big huge block. So I'm gonna go ahead and go to the select tool right here. Gonna right click, go to make hollow. Now if you use a positive number, it's gonna use it inward. So I like to use -8, and this will hollow it outward. This will make a room inside of here, pretty much. Now we got a room in here. As you can see, I cannot see outside of the block, it's actually multiple blocks now. 6 to be exact. And it's considered a group now. If you see up here, it's a selection. So if I select objects, I can select a single part of the group or a single object. If I select solids, it'll select solids, which is the same thing of this block type as a group, as an object. So let's go back to groups. Now if you don't want to have it as a group, you can go ahead and right click and do ungroup. Now I can just select it individually while still remaining on the group. Now you're going to want to create a spawn point. Now go ahead and click the entity tool, Control E. Now down here is your entities. You can change it in here, or you can spawn your entity just like that. You go to select tool, double click it on the camera, and you can change it right here on the class. I'll go ahead and change this one to counter tears just by typing in counter, and then anything which has that name will appear, such as info player counter tears. So that is the spawn point for a CT. Now I'm going to go over here, spawn another one. Now if your terrorist is an error, a red error, then I'll be uploading a video at the same time, which includes a fix for that, along with a couple of weapons, which you'll have to do manually yourself. But big thing is the fix for the terrorist, as most people probably making a map for either bomb sites or hostage. So, like you see, well, the CT is facing a wall. We don't really want that. So you go ahead and click it, and then you can move them around, or you can click them, and then you see the circles on the sides. Now you just click a circle and you can rotate them. That looks to be about good, facing right out there at the CT. Now there's no buy zone. They can't buy anything. So we're going ahead and change our texture. We're going to type in tools. Now in here you're going to have a list of tools, great tools. You can use all these tools. Now we're going to look for the trigger. We're going to be using the trigger. Now you might want to use some of these tools. Invisible is just invisible block. Player clips on players. It's basically an invisible block, but players cannot walk into the invisible block. A ladder is a ladder. You might want to use that over top of a prop, which would be a ladder. No draw just doesn't draw it. So let's go ahead and use trigger. I'm going to select an area over top of the spawn. Now that would work. Let's just go ahead and make it more. Now it's 128 by 256, perfectly reasonable spawn. Now this isn't just a spawn point. The trigger texture is basically for triggers. If you want to actually do something with it, then you're going to have to change it into an entity, which you have to right click on the entity, the block, go to tie to entity, which is Control T, type in buy zone. Now click apply so you can get this list here, team number, that's the 0, it doesn't matter, just click the down box, and then this is the T spawn, as you can see right there. So let's change it to a T spawn. There's nothing else we need to modify in here. And now you can do the same thing with the CT spawn. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy this block by holding shift, clicking and dragging, and then letting go of left click. Now I can release my shift. Now it's still an entity for the terror spawn. So we want to double click it on the camera, change it to a CT, and now the CT spawn works. Rotate him a little bit. There we go. Now we have to determine whether we're going to use either a bomb site or a hostage. So let's go ahead and do both. So for a hostage, it's quite simple. All I have to do is, I'm going to easily put it right in here. Just type in hostage. After you spell it correctly, hostage, entity. Now I believe this will work just fine. All you gotta do is then click, 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 click. And now I have 4 hostages, which the CTs have to get the hostages and bring back to their zone. So for the zone, we have to create another block, which would be, say, right here. Go to Entity, change it to Hostage Rescue. Now whenever the hostages walk into this invisible area, they will be rescued. Now if you ever make a mistake like that, go ahead and click Control Z. It's an undo function by default. And for the bomb site, it's just this pretty much the same as the triggers, so go ahead and create an area, Control T, and do bomb target. I don't think neither of these matter. The heist game mode, I don't know what that is, so not even going to bother with it. So whenever a terrorist with a bomb comes in, he'll enter this invisible area. His bomb will start flashing and he can plant the bomb right here. You can have multiple of these, so if I wanted to make it more like rounded, where you can't place a bomb in the center here, then you can do that. All of these are the same. This is also a way to make multiple bomb sites, so if I wanted one over here, maybe one over here, bomb site A, B, C, D, multiple bomb sites. Have as many as you want, and that should work just fine. Now there's a problem. I don't know if it'll be with the current version you're using, maybe in the future, but since you've already saved it, which is Control S, you click Run Map. Alright, now you're going to want to change it to normal HDR on your final version, but if you want to test it, go ahead and click Fast Pass and take off HDR. You shouldn't need anything in additional game parameters unless you want to, such as bot_stop1, but you need svcheats1 for that. But personally, there's a problem with it, so what I like to do is just don't run the game after compiling. Wait for key press when compiling. And that way I can view whatever information I need to view in case there's a problem with the map. And I'll run it. You should see this scroll down, and then when you got finished, press the key to continue. You can go ahead and click any key you want. As you can see, you got a list of what we've used on the map. You see that it didn't take much to draw our lights. Now there's another thing that brings to my attention. You're going to want lights in your map. Now some people might use a skybox for the texture. So if you use the texture face edit sheet here, you go ahead and right click after selecting your texture on the tile, and it'll only use one side of that block. So that's skybox. There should be light in here. Now in case you are in, say, a room, then you might want to change it to a light. So light entity, just like that. Now that's a light entity. It basically makes light. You can move them around. You can change their color in here. Change your color. So this is going to be blue. It's going to be blue. Now it draws blue. As you can see, it's blue. It'll be a blue light. And then once you go to test your map, you would have to right click, or basically launch your Counter-Strike Global Offensive. Then you will, hopefully, you have your console enabled. If you don't, you have to go in the options, settings, and then enable developer console. Open up the console using the tilde key, the button left of 1. Type in map space, and then the name of the map. For I named JB Tutorial 1, so that would be my map name. And then you can run and test your map. And then whenever you want to release your map to someone, you give them the BSP, which would be in your maps folder inside the CSGO section. Hope you learned something. And if you have any problems with the errors or anything, there's another video right after this.